Hello again, I'm Tom, and this is the second of 3 videos from an academic perspective aimed at managing the transition from primary school to secondary school, focusing particularly on Year 7. So if you find any of the content in this video or any of the others useful, please do subscribe, and there'll be plenty more coming this way in the future. So, Year 7s, they arrive at the school, new environment, new routines, new books, new people, new everything. It's a difficult, inevitably, a really difficult transition, and one of the ways I think you as a teacher can make that transition just that little bit smoother is by making an effort to tap into their existing knowledge. So they arrive in September, all of them, with such a variety, and this is really a problem for us, a variety of experience and knowledge, mainly because in most cases you'll have students coming from a great variety of different primary schools. So the first and most obvious and probably most talked about benefit of tapping into the prior knowledge of your students is the fact that it allows you to modify your own teaching, because if you don't do that and you end up as a result teaching something that your students, or at least a number of them, have already learned or already been taught, then of course they, like anybody else, certainly me, are going to suffer in terms of motivation and willingness to engage. They'll be bored, I would be. So it makes sense to tap into their prior knowledge to make sure that you can tailor your own teaching to provide the kind of environment and material that's really going to engage them. But beyond that, and that is a very important benefit, no doubt, I want to talk a little bit more specifically about 2 principles that I think tapping into prior knowledge provides. Okay, so the first is continuity, and the second is a sense of empowerment. Now, that sense of continuity is, I think, truly important because, or for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, they're arriving to an environment in which everything is new, to the point where it can almost feel as if the first part of their lives has been somehow divorced or some kind of fracture has occurred. I know I'm being, a touch melodramatic here, but I think it's foolish at the same time to underestimate just what a jump it is. So when you tap into the things that they have learned, and when you give them a chance to demonstrate all that they do know, you provide that continuity with the life they used to lead. And that at the same time is going to bring with it a sense of calm and a sense of self-belief that's going to have an impact on how they feel in your classroom and how they feel about themselves in this new, really quite daunting environment. The second thing I think tapping into their prior knowledge really does do is it provides a sense of empowerment. So I'm going to give a proper example of this, okay? My old head of department, remarkable woman, she may or may not be sitting behind this camera. She gave me this idea and I've used it ever since. It is brilliant. The much talked about changes in primary education over the last few years, which among other things require primary school students to have a very good understanding of grammar. Okay, it means that from a secondary perspective, it's a slightly bizarre situation, I have Year 7 students and Year 8 and Year 9 whose grammar is infinitely better than my A-level students. Now I teach A-level language, so one of the things my head of department suggested I do, and I have done since, is I get my Year 7 classes, I put them in groups, and I ask them to provide presentations to my A-level language class about different grammatical categories. So for example, pronouns, determiners, and they gather what they know and they have to provide definitions, explanations, and some activities, some games. And then these groups of Year 7s, they lead the class, they take turns. And it's amazing to see, they're obviously very nervous, of course they are, but when they do it, it's also really quite tangible just how happy and how proud of themselves they are, because they can really see and feel the fact that what they have already learned is of genuine worth. And it's pretty easy to see and feel that way when you've got a load of giants, to them, A-level students to us, sat down frantically scribbling notes because they don't know what the Year 7 students do. And frankly, from a teacher's perspective, obviously that is hilarious to see. So tapping into the prior knowledge of your students can also, I think, be tremendously empowering, because it gives them a chance to demonstrate all that they have learned and all that they do know. And when they do that, of course, they're bringing to the forefront of your classroom their previous life and all the happiness and the security and the triumphs and the successes and the joy they associate with that life and with that learning. And if you can bring that into your classroom and you can engage with it and build on it, you're far more likely to inspire the kind of confidence and the kind of climate that is going to result in, well, feeling safe and secure and happy and positive. And we all know all of that leads to progress. Why? Because if, again, you bring it to the forefront of your classroom, then they can see that everything that you are providing them with is not some strange, new, otherworldly road. It's just an extension of the road they've already been travelling on for quite some time. And who wouldn't feel safer knowing that?